Commissioner Stoddard, can you hear us okay? Commissioner Stoddard,
Yes.
just making sure you can hear us. Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission for September 7th, 2023. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order. The commissioners who are present for this evening's meeting are at City Hall and on Zoom. We also have staff from the city attorney and clerk's office, as well as the city planning department. If you're joining us on Zoom this evening, we can see that you are here. You may observe the meeting, however, your ability to be seen on screen and talk will be muted. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, you'll be unmuted and then be able to comment. Please note that we cannot take questions until the public testimony. If you have a process question during the meeting, please email cityclerk@meridiancity.org and they will reply as quickly as possible. If you simply want to watch the meeting, we encourage you to watch this streaming on the city's YouTube channel. You can access it at meridiancity.org/live. With that, let's begin with roll call. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Stoddard,
Here.
Commissioner Wheeler,
Present.
Commissioner Rivera,
Present.
Commissioner Lorcher,
Here.
and absent are Commissioners Grace, Seal, and Smith.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Village Leadership Academy, item number H 2023-0038 will be open for the sole purpose of withdrawing the application. So if there's anyone here tonight to testify on that application, we will not be taking public testimony at this evening. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
do we need to go ahead and adjust the consent items yet or?
that's next.
Next. Okay, so then second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to adopt the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. The consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda and we have 3 items on the consent agenda to approve the minutes of the August 17th, 2023 meeting, facts and findings of conclusions of law for Bridge Tower Marketplace, and facts and findings of conclusion for law for the Klein Family Home Edition. And actually, I'll add a 4th. We will be changing the order of the agenda. So for the purpose of timeliness. Could I get a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion to accept the agenda as modified.
Second.
It's been moved and second to adopt the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I'd briefly like to explain the public hearing process. We will open each item individually and begin with the staff report. Staff will report their findings on how the item adheres to our comprehensive plan and unified development code. After staff has made their presentation, the applicant will come forward to present their case and respond to staff comments. They will have 15 minutes to do so. After the applicant has finished, we will open the floor to public testimony. Each person will only be called once during public testimony. The clerk will call the names individually of those who signed up on our website in advance to testify. You will then be unmuted on Zoom, or you can come up to the microphones in chambers. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission. If you previously sent pictures or a presentation for the meeting, it will be displayed on screen and our clerk will run the presentation. If you have established that you are speaking on behalf of a larger group like an HOA, where others from that group will allow you to speak on their behalf, you will have up to 10 minutes. After all of those who have signed up in advance have spoken, we will invite any others who wish to testify. If you wish to speak on a topic, you may come forward in chambers, or if on Zoom, press the raise hand button on the Zoom app. Or if you're listening on a phone, please press *9 and wait for your name to be called. If you're listening on multiple devices, such as a computer and a phone, please be sure to mute these extra devices so we do not experience feedback and we can hear you clearly. When you are finished, if the commission does not have questions for you, you will return to your seat in chambers or be muted on Zoom and no longer have the ability to speak. Please remember, we will not call on you twice. After all the testimony has been heard, the applicant will be given another 10 minutes to come back and respond. When the applicant is finished responding to questions and concerns, we will close the public hearings and the commissioners will have the opportunity to discuss and hopefully be able to make final decisions or recommendations to City Council as needed. Tonight, we're going to go out of order. We are first going to do number 6, which is the withdrawal. And then we'll do the conditional use permit, which is number 5. And then we will finish up with number 4, which is the rezone and annexation. So I'd like to open the public hearing for item number H 2023-0038, Village Leadership Academy, for the sole purpose to accept the request for their application to be withdrawn. At this time, may I get a motion to accept the withdrawal of the application?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second to close the public hearing and accept the withdrawal and close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item we will open for the public hearing is item H 2023-0040, Eagle Road Extended Stay Hotel for a conditional use permit for a 4-story extended hotel. We will begin with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. The first application before you tonight is a request for a conditional use permit. This site consists of 2.77 acres of land. It's zoned CG and it's located on the east side of North Eagle Road, State Highway 55, south of Ustick Road at 2700 North Eagle Road. A little history on this property. A development agreement exists for the larger property in which this site is located, as shown there on the vicinity map. It does include a conceptual development plan for a hotel on this site and allows one building permit to be issued prior to subdivision of the property. A final plat and an amendment to the development agreement was recently approved for the larger property that has not yet been recorded. The comprehensive plan future land use map designation is mixed use regional. A conditional use permit is requested for a 4-story extended stay hotel with 124 rooms on 2.77 acres of land in the CG zoning district as required by the UDC because the site adjoins a residential district and existing residences, apartments to the south. A multifamily development is currently in the development process directly to the east as well in the CG zoning district. And this property is on the eastern portion of subject property that's highlighted here. Access is proposed via an existing curb cut at the northern boundary of the site for access via Eagle Road through the adjacent commercial property, and a right in, right out access driveway via North Eagle Road, which was recently approved by City Council on the adjacent property to the south. 2 driveways for connectivity between uses and for access via Records Avenue are proposed to the multifamily residential development to the east, currently in the development process. An access driveway to the south is also planned for connectivity between uses. Off-street parking is proposed in excess of UDC standards. A minimum of 102 spaces are required. A total of 139 spaces are proposed, exceeding the minimum standard by 37 spaces. Bicycle parking is also proposed in excess of the minimum standard. A north-south pedestrian walkway is proposed within the western perimeter buffer, and walkways are proposed to the east for interconnectivity between uses. A reduced buffer width of a minimum of 5 feet was recently approved by City Council along the eastern boundary of the site to future residential uses. Evergreen trees should be included in the buffer to achieve a mix of materials and barrier as desired between commercial and residential uses. Conceptual building elevations were submitted as shown for the proposed structure. Building materials primarily consist of EIFS wall panels in 2 different colors with a 3rd accent color, architectural metal siding in 2 different colors as an accent material, and pre-finished metal flashing grills and louvers. The final design of the structure is required to comply with the design standards listed in the Architectural Standards Manual and will be reviewed for compliance with these standards with the subsequent design review application. The subdivision, which includes this property, is required to be recorded prior to issuance of certificate of occupancy, or the entire frontage improvements along Eagle Road will be required to be constructed with development of this site. Written testimony was received from Stephanie Hopkins, KM Engineering, the applicant's representative. They are in agreement with the staff report conditions. Staff is recommending approval per the staff report. The applicant is here to present tonight. Staff will stand for any questions.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for staff? Would the applicant like to come forward? Hi, if you can please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Lacey Clark. I'm with KM Engineering at 5725 North Discovery Way, Boise, Idaho 83713. I believe we sent in a presentation.
Just a moment.
Okay.
Shared and it did not. Give me a moment.
Okay, so I think a lot of this was probably addressed, but I'll give a broad overview. This on screen right now is the approved preliminary plat for Sessions Parkway, and our hotel will be on the eastern 3 lots. Once the plat is recorded, we're going to do a property boundary adjustment we're anticipating that will happen in the next few months, the plot recording. So this is a rendering the architect sent, so you can see where the building is on the entire site. And then to the west is the rest of the Sessions Parkway development pads. Some of the site features on, this is the updated site plan. As mentioned, there's 139 parking out of the 102 required. 8 of those will be for electric vehicles and 6 will be for handicap parking. And then the connectivity, the sidewalks will connect to proposed uses within the other development in the Sessions Parkway, as well as to on the east, the village apartments that are being developed. It's 125 rooms and 4 stories. It'll be open 24 hours a day. There will always be 1 staff on site. It's proposed to have 4 to 6 full-time staff and 6 to 8 part-time. With it being open 24 hours, the security will be, there's 4 points of access, 2 in the north and south stairwells, and 2 on the west and east access to the lobby, and those will be double key card secured. So you have to use your key card twice to get in. And then as far as amenities, there's a gym, a laundry room, and vending. These are more renderings, so you can see what it looks like in the day and at night. This building is what's facing, the front of this building is facing the west, and then the gazebo is a proposed amenity, and you can see some of the pathways here, and then where the trees are, there will be another sidewalk. So that about sums it up. I believe York Development might be tuned in, so they can answer any questions I don't have, but I'll stand for questions now if anyone has any.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant? I do have one.
Mhm.
Does this hotel offer any balcony space for, I didn't see it on the rendering from the front of the hotel. Do any of the rooms in the back of the hotel have any balconies, or is it all just enclosed?
No, I don't believe so. There's no balconies.
Commissioners?
And it's, you said the amenities, gym, laundry room, does it facilitate any kind of conference rooms or, you know, for outside, you know, to come and use conference rooms or anything like that?
Not that I know of. I know that there's a lobby, though. I'm not sure of any conference rooms.
Do you have any of these brands any in other cities? Or is this the first company?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty new concept. I'm not completely sure if they've started in other cities yet, but the developers might be able to speak to that.
Madam Chair, there is somebody with their hand raised and maybe with the applicant.
Okay.
It's Casey Tippins.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, if you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Casey Tippins. Address is in Livingston, Montana, 5157 Livingston, Montana. We are the developer and applicant. Just to answer a couple questions, these units do not have conference rooms. They do not have balconies, and just the gym amenity inside these hotels. It is a new concept that Wyndham is rolling out. They've announced, I think, well over 100 across the country. So these are expected to do very well.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions for the applicant? Commissioner Wheeler?
I have just a quick question. It said that there was some connectivity also to the south, and I'm trying to see where that's at, aside from just the road that's to the south, but no, I don't see a drive aisle going down that way. Is there, did I mishear something, or?
Are you referring to the south?
south part of the property. I thought I heard something about there being like some connectivity to the south.
The sidewalk, as far as I know, is the connectivity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a sidewalk, not a drive aisle or anything like
Mhm.
south. That's what I'm seeing. I just wanted to make sure I heard it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I think we're good.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may address that, Commissioner Wheeler, there is a drive aisle connection to the south it's off this site, but you can see it on the site plan there. Just wanted to clarify.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, at this time, we will take any public testimony. Mr. Clerk, is there anybody signed up to speak?
Madam Chair, only the applicant was signed up.
Anybody in chambers would like to speak on this application? I take it there's nothing else you'd like to add? Okay. All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on file number H 2023-0040. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Commissioners, any thoughts about this application for Eagle Road Extended Stay Hotel?
No, it seems pretty straightforward and it seems like it's in the use. They're over the parking minimums. These are all benefits and bonuses, so. Pretty cut and dry.
I'll take a motion.
All right, do you want to go for it?
I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
After considering all staff, applicant and public testimony, I move to approve file number H 2023-0040 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of September 7th, 2023, with no modifications.
Second.
It has been moved and second to approve file number H 2023-0040. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, the next item we have open for public hearing is file number H 2023-0031, the Windrow Neighborhood for annexation, rezone, and preliminary plat. We will begin with the staff report.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, good evening. The applicant is here to present their project for Windrow Neighborhood. The applications that were submitted were annexation, rezone, preliminary plat, and an MDA. This site consists of 65.10 acres of land with 19.967 acres already annexed and zoned R4, located at the northeast corner of South Linda Road and West Amity Road. History on the property is there is an existing development agreement for the portion that was annexed to R4 as part of the South Meridian annexation. The comprehensive flume designation is medium density residential. The summary of the request is the applicant proposes to annex in 46.133 acres of land with an R8 zoning district. A portion of the property, which was the 19.967 acres, was annexed into the city of Meridian in 2015 and zoned R4 to help delineate this property would be developed as residential. The development agreement that was created as part of this original annexation dictated that the city would have services available as soon as possible and the rezone application would be free of charge. The stipulation regarding a rezone application was made because the annexation was city initiated and the property had no concept plan or specific development planned at the time of the annexation. The city understood future development may not match the existing zoning and gave future applicants the opportunity to propose a different zoning with redevelopment of the property. The applicant provided a legal description, a map for the annexation area, the rezone area, and the preliminary plat boundary. The proposed preliminary plat consists of 251 building lots, 1 existing home, 40 common lots on 65.10 acres in the proposed R8 zoning district. Lots range in size from 4,725 to 10,000 square feet. The proposed gross density of the subdivision is 3.87 units per acre. The applicant is proposing 6 phases within this development. Phases 1 through 4 are situated to the west of the Calkins Canal. And phases 5 through 6 are located to the east of the canal. Staff recommends that the main entrance from South Linder Road and the main entrance via West Amity Road be constructed with the first phase of development. The first phase of development should encompass the construction of both the 10-foot detached sidewalks and the entire street buffers along the frontage of South Linder and West Amity Road. Staff believes that construction of the multi-use pathway along the Calkins lateral should take place during phase 4 instead of waiting until phase 6. This modification aims to provide an extra amenity to the neighborhood at an earlier stage. And staff generally supports the phasing plan. However, the applicant should provide a revised color phasing plan prior to the city council hearing. And staff did have a meeting with the applicant this afternoon, and we are working together on that phasing plan. Just wanted to add that part. The dimensional standards for the proposed R8 zoning district appear to meet, the preliminary plat appears to meet those dimensions standards required by the UDC. Access to arterial streets, which is South Linder Road and Amity Road, and 1 temporary emergency only access is proposed via South Linder Road, and a secondary emergency connection is proposed across the northern end of the Calkins lateral. 1 stub street is proposed to the north and west, and 3 stub streets are proposed at the east boundary of the site for future extension in accordance with the UDC. Each phase of the development is proposed to have 2 accesses for emergency services. The main entrance from South Linder Road and the main entrance via West Amity Road shall be constructed with the first phase of development. Staff recommends again that the main entrance from South Linder Road be constructed with the first phase to eliminate the need for the temporary emergency access as proposed by the applicant. Currently, Amity Road is approved with 2 travel lanes and no curb, gutter, or sidewalk abutting the site, and Linder Road is also improved with 2 travel lanes and no curb, gutter, or sidewalk abutting the site. Linder Road is listed in ACHD's capital improvement plan to widen to 3 lanes from Victory Road to Amity Road between 2036 and 2040. The intersection of Linder Road and Amity Road is listed on the capital improvements plan to be constructed as a dual lane roundabout with a westbound right turn bypass lane with 4 lanes on the north leg, 4 lanes on the south, 4 lanes on the east, and 4 lanes on the west leg between 2036 and 2040, based on ACHD staff report findings concerning the traffic study. The applicant is advised to construct specific turn lanes at Site A and Site B access to mitigate traffic concerns. For Site Access A on Linder Road, a southbound center left turn lane and northbound temporary right turn lane are recommended. For the Site Access B on Amity Road, an eastbound center left turn lane and a westbound temporary right turn lane were recommended. The measures should be implemented as an alternative mitigation until the roadways are widened. Street K and O do not conform to the ACHD policies, so the applicant is required to construct these streets at 33-foot wide street sections. And the applicant should provide traffic calming design elements for street A, B, C, J, L, and M, and O, because they are over the 750 feet in length. The development of the subdivision is required to comply with the subdivision design improvements listed in the UDC, including but not limited to streets, common driveways, and block face. There are 3 common driveways proposed, and they all meet the UDC requirements. Block length is required to comply with the standards listed in the UDC. Block faces should not exceed 750 feet in length without an intersecting street or alley. Unless a pedestrian connection is provided, then the block face may extend it up to 1,000 feet in length. In accordance with the UDC, a block face should not exceed 1,200 feet unless a waiver is granted by the city council. In certain cases as specified, traffic calming regulation measures may be necessary for blocks that surpass 1,000 feet in length. Staff finds that street A, B, C, and M each include a pedestrian connection that meets the conditions outlined in the UDC above. Staff has determined that street L should incorporate a pedestrian connection, and that is on the west side within block 11 that connects to east to break up the block length. The applicant has initially proposed a block length of 1,229 feet for street J, and that is next to the canal in the center of the plat. However, upon verifying the measurements, staff found that street J actually exceeds the length of 1,800 feet. The applicant is seeking a council waiver for the block length. However, staff believes in order for the council to grant the waiver, the applicant should extend a public street across the northern edge of the Calkins lateral in the location where the emergency access is proposed. So that is to the north of the street. The applicant has indicated that the irrigation district wants to limit the number of crossings over the lateral. However, staff doesn't have any written documentation of such a request. Staff recommends that the applicant provide written documentation from the irrigation provider stating that another public street connection is not desired prior to the city council hearing. Staff recommends that the applicant incorporate an additional pedestrian connection and pedestrian bridge over the Calkins lateral from the north side of the road through lot 46 or lot 47, block 7. And that would be close to this roundabout. Incorporating a pedestrian bridge in the center of the development enhances accessibility to the open space and amenities within the area. If the applicant doesn't want to extend the road and install the additional open space and pedestrian bridge as recommended, the block length for street J should not exceed 750 feet as required by the UDC. And staff did also talk about this in the meeting with the applicant, and they are actually working on redesigning the street with some other details that we gave them from past projects to look at, or examples. Sidewalks and pathways. According to the master pathways plan, a 10-foot wide detached multi-use pathway is required along South Linder Road, a detached 10-foot wide pathway along West Amity Road, and a 10-foot pathway is required along the Calkins lateral. The common driveway is located at the northwest corner, will be up here, and the southwest corner of the development should incorporate micropaths adjacent to the 5-foot landscape buffers to enhance walkability within the neighborhood. Staff recommends the applicant revise the plat and landscape plans to include the dimensions of the pathways and micropathways on the plans. The landscape plan does not depict landscaping on each side of the 10-foot multi-pathway along the Calkins Canal. Landscaping is required along the pathways in accordance with the UDC. The applicant is showing, let's see. The applicant is showing 25-foot landscape buffers next to South Linder Road and West Amity Road. So those meet the UDC requirements. Fencing, the applicant is providing 6-foot vinyl fencing and 4-foot or 5-foot tall wrought iron. So those meet, both fencing types meet the UDC requirements. The qualified open space is for the 65.1 acres requires 15% for the R8 zoning district. The applicant is providing 16%, so they're meeting that qualification in the UDC. Overall, staff supports the proposed open space and their locations being centralized within the development for fairly equitable access on both sides of the Calkins lateral, with the fire access available from the north and the pedestrian bridge across the south over the lateral. Staff does recommend the applicant incorporated additional pedestrian bridge and pedestrian bridge over the Calkins lateral from the north side of Street J, again through Lot 46 or Lot 47, Block 7 to align with the cul-de-sac. Incorporating an additional pedestrian bridge in the center of the development would enhance the open space and amenities within the area. So the applicant is required to provide 13 points and amenities for projects 5 acres in size and over. So the applicant has provided 15.5 amenity points that exceed the amenity points required. And they do provide a playground park in phase 6, a fenced dog park in phase 1, a picnic shelter on lot 6, block 5, and on lot 3, block 9 in phase 2 and 5, and 3 segments of 10-foot wide multi-use pathways equaling approximately over 4,000 linear feet in length in phases 1 and 6. Staff has concerns, even though that they meet the required amount of amenity points provided across different phases within the development. Staff recommends that the 10-foot pathway along the Calkins lateral should be constructed with phase 4 instead of waiting until phase 6. To address the issue of timing, staff recommends that lot 10, block 8 and phase 4 should include another qualifying amenity for the northern portion of the neighborhood, ensuring that residents are not waiting until phase 6 for the proposed playground on the eastern side of the lateral. Additionally, in the interest of enhancing the enjoyment of open space, staff finds that the picnic areas on lot 6, block 5 and lot 3, block 9 should be equipped with tables and benches with the proposed shade structures in accordance with the UDC. According to the GIS imagery, the Calkins lateral bisects the site and continues northern boundary and the eastern parcel bisects the eastern parcel of the proposed development. The Calkins lateral runs across the northeast corner of the site with a 51-foot wide easement. The applicant proposes to leave the waterway open and improve the area as a linear open space with a pathway, which is allowed by the UDC. Is presumed that there's another lateral, the Carlson lateral, is being tiled and relocated as part of construction of this development. The applicant is required to comply with the UDC, ensure that the irrigation facility bisecting the eastern property line is tiled or relocated. Staff recommends the applicant graphically depict the relocation of the easement on the plat prior to the city council hearing. And the applicant has submitted 3 building elevations with field materials of lap siding, stone accents for the detached homes. Overall, staff finds the submitted elevations to comply with the minimum standards, but hopes future elevations depict more variation in finished materials to help differentiate the building facades along public streets. Written testimony, there is none. Staff does recommend approval of the requested annexation, rezone, preliminary plat, and MDA applications with the requirement of a new DA per the approval of the findings in the staff report. And this concludes staff's presentation, and they stand for any questions.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff before we bring the applicant up? The applicant like to come up?
Evening, members of the commission. Keith Clark, 251 East Front Street in Boise, representing the applicant. And I have a presentation that I'm sure is on its way, right, Stacy? Okay. So we're here to discuss Windrow neighborhood, and I wanted to, maybe that'll fire up. Good? All right, no problems. So I wanted to start out by talking a little bit about the vicinity, kind of give a little bit of context, and then also talk a little bit about the history of the project, because I think that understanding where this comes from and what the city has done since 2016 in relation to this property is important before we jump into the details. So the property is located at the corner of Linder and Amity in Southwest Meridian. And there are a couple of really important themes here. First, one is that this completes this square mile. This is an area, there's a few annexed properties to be annexed to just off to the east, but ultimately this is what completes the square mile, which is developing east to west from Meridian towards Linder. And then second, that there's been significant city infrastructure investment in both water and sewer in this area, all of which followed from that 2016 annexation that Stacy mentioned and that I'll go over a little bit more. This project helps to complete that plan, and I'll show you how. As we look at the comprehensive plan as a snapshot today, the area is planned as medium density. We are on the low end of the medium density spectrum, which, as you know, is from 3 to 8 units per acre. This is our annexation map. It shows that the portion of our project on the east is already annexed, with the remainder having contiguity to the city on the north. Now that annexation question is very important to consideration of this application. And so back in 2016, as you're probably aware, there was 1,300 acres that was annexed as part of a large annexation for the city. You can see our property is up in the northwest corner. Up top, maybe if the thing's working. Well, you can see my arrow. The computer seems to be lagging a bit. Here's another view along with a picture of how this relates to CUNA's growth. I'll call it on Meridian's southwest flank. There are a couple of elements of the annexation that are key though tonight. The first was that the annexation was consensual and that it was arrived at through negotiated development agreements with each of the property owners, that the city reached out to those property owners, made certain commitments to the owners made commitments back as part of that annexation. The city's commitments included investments in water and sewer facilities in this area so that those properties, if they come into the city and took on those additional obligations, that they would also have the ability to move forward with development. So back in 2016, our predecessor signed an agreement with the city that included the language that you see on the screen. Among other things, it calls for, quote, advancement of sewer and water infrastructure facilities, or utility infrastructure for the benefit of the subject property, the city of Meridian, and adjacent and adjoining properties. So those benefits would be in the form of these utility extensions, which were planned out to take place over 2 phases. There was a phase that took place in 2 years, and there was a phase that took place in 4 years. And then as that development, that infrastructure built out, then those property owners would have the opportunity to submit development agreements that were consistent with the plume. This is exactly what Stacy said to you a few minutes ago. So this shows you the 2 phases of the utility extensions, phase 1 in blue, phase 2 in pink. Our property is in phase 2. And as you could see from the comments in the staff report and from the agencies, Public Works noted that sewer and water are directly adjacent and have been built out. This is what it looks like. You can see the city has constructed the water mains that ring the property in blue. Water does not have to be extended with this project. It's already there. You can also see that the city's constructed a sewer main to our property line. That's the red line there on Linder Road. We will take that down to the new lift station that's located precisely where it's called for on the city's sewer master plan. Here's a snippet from that. And you can see on the map I just showed you, we had the lift station on the southwest corner, and that's where the city's phasing plan calls for it as well. So to summarize, what you're seeing here tonight is fulfillment of this process that the city worked on with this property owner. Both sides lived up to the bargain. You know, the city's made significant investments in utilities that make the property ready for development. So with that background, let's look at the site. As it has been mentioned, 64-acre project. We're proposing an R8 zone, 251 homes, 16% open space. The proposed zoning and density are consistent with the flume. A couple comments while I have this up. You know, there was a few comments about block length, and in large part, the block length is driven by the location of the Calkins lateral. That I think makes sense to everyone. We will be doing the traffic calming measures that were called for by ACHD. That would largely include bulb outs and those types of like visual prompts to help calm the traffic. Another point I would make is that the Carlson, so this is the Calkins lateral. The Carlson on Google Maps looks like it might be on our property, but it in fact is not. And so that we don't have to worry about the Carlson. With regard to open space and pathways, I like this map because I actually really like this site plan too, but it really emphasizes how interconnected the property is going to be and the way that the design uses the Calkins as an amenity for the project. But you can see all of the amenities that are proposed. We have, you know, not one, not two, but three components of the regional pathway network that are on the property. All of the internal neighborhood walking loops connect the various half-acre and up parks, including the half-acre dog park that was mentioned during the initial presentation. The amenities exceed code. They include a play park, dog park, pathways, shaded seating areas. They do include tables, which was one of the points that staff mentioned, is that we will have the tables there. More examples of what it would look like. And again, we exceed the overall amenities requirement with 15.5. You've seen the home designs. These are obviously the base design. There will be tweaks on this and there will be variety. Overall, lot sizes from 4,725 to 10,000 square feet, with homes from 1,350 to 2,750 square feet. So a good variety and appropriate for the flume designation in this location. So what's next? We would ask for a recommendation of approval and to move this forward to council. We are generally in agreement with the conditions that have been discussed, but there is some work that needs to be done. And this is always the kind of stuff that happens as you get the staff report and then you scramble for the meeting, is that you try to address as much as you can. And as you heard, we have been meeting with staff to review a few items and try to improve things and come to a compromise position on other items. So we will be following staff's direction to update the landscape plan. We will be showing the road calming measures, as I mentioned previously. We will be providing a written confirmation from Boise Project as to their direction to not have so many crossings on their facilities. And the way that the staff report is set up, I think that's appropriate, that if we provide that from the irrigation district, then that would address that issue. So ultimately, I think what we should be doing and what we would ask you to include in a recommendation is to work with staff to revise the phasing plan to address the questions that staff raised about timing for certain of the amenities and for timing of the improvements on Linder on that frontage. There are some items there that, there's going to take a little bit of arm wrestling on, but ultimately what we're trying to do with that revised phasing plan is to move up that timing in order to address staff's concerns. So that's what we would be hoping for in a recommendation. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions from the commission.
Madam Chair? It's Keith, is that right?
Heath with an H, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
It's a
Heath?
terrible name for introduction.
No, you're good, Heath. Can you go back to the conceptual plan that you had? with the cities, and with the streets and
We tried
everything.
to do that.
Yeah, right there. So you're talking about like having to bulb some of the, and I know that the mouse doesn't work super great for you there too, but to bulb some of the streets there, how's that going to affect your lot sizes?
Overall, it really shouldn't affect the lot sizes because what you would be doing, you'd be working on the edge of the right of way. And Commissioner Wheeler, let me point out one item that is likely to occur as part of this conversation, and Bill may have some more to add to this. But one of the things that we can do to try to address the block length is to reorient this intersection that you see here, because this is obviously the longest of the streets. And so if we reorient this, turn it down so that that connection comes in, so it breaks the straight flow through there. It's my understanding that that would be one example of items that staff would consider as breaking that block length.
Okay.
Otherwise, on some of those other streets, the bulb outs would primarily occur at like intersections like this. So it would be essentially extending out into the right of way a little bit.
Okay, it's because it is that long stretch, obviously, that's the biggest concern, right, on that, and the bulbing and the how to mitigate traffic flow on that. And there's not a lot of space there to move within that street, and there's not a lot of places to bulb except for right there, or to dead end it, or to redirect or something like that. So do you have any other sort of thoughts of mitigating some of the traffic flow on that, or any other sort of concepts?
The basic concept, when we drafted it the way we did, one of the ideal items of following the dimensions of the Calkins is that you have that wavy element to it. So
Sure.
that in and of itself does provide traffic calming. And then we would reorient over here, and we would use the bulb outs at all the intersections. That's going to be the primary elements of it. ACHD doesn't want to have speed bumps, for example.
Right.
So, but we would be working with staff and ACHD to do what they would approve beyond that.
Okay. On that same, you said that the irrigation district doesn't want to have a lot of connectivity going over the top of there, or a lot of roads or pathways going over the top of the canals. And you said that you do have that, or you could get that in writing then, is what you're saying?
Commissioner Wheeler, that's correct.
Okay.
And I can add to that if you'd like. One of the items is we do have this crossing here, which is going to be full trafficked. And then we have the crossing up the north that is initially emergency only. Eventually will not be emergency only because it won't be an emergency crossing, I guess I should say. Let me say that one more time.
Sure, you bet.
So initially will be emergency and pedestrian. Eventually will just be pedestrian because these other accesses will be open. And putting in a full access here due to the topography is extremely challenging. But the main concern is that Boise Project does not want, what could be three connections, with one of them being very close to the main connection down here. But we will work with Boise Project and get written confirmation of that for you.
Okay.
For the city council meeting, which is the way the staff had it set up in the staff report.
Okay. And then one of the other points that you said that you would be willing to accommodate has to do with the benches and the tables and things. That's easy for you guys to put that,
That's
accommodate on that?
That's already in the plans.
Perfect. Okay. And then there was another thing about the timing based upon phase 4 instead of phase 6 for the pedestrian, for the regional pedestrian pathway. Are you guys willing to go ahead and put that, to construct that during phase 4?
Commissioner Wheeler, that'll be part of the arm wrestling with that revised phasing plan, but part of that will be to address staff's concerns to make sure that that timing is where staff would like it. But I don't think that the numbering is going to be the same, I guess is the long and the short of what I'm
Okay.
saying. It won't be 1 through 6. It'll be some other numbering pattern with more property in certain phases and less in others. But the goal is to get onto the same page with staff in terms of the timing of that phasing plan. And so that's why we're asking for you to recommend that we work with them to get that done before city council.
Okay, so the phasing plan that's currently here, that's going to probably adjust the boundaries on how that's going to look.
100% will adjust.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can just tell you that from the commission standpoint, based upon history, we've been big proponents of not only just having those pathways, but getting them operational soon. So we like the connectivity, we like to see all that kind of stuff. So that'll be something that we would support that coming on board sooner rather than later, just as you understand, just so you know.
But it's
my
a,
side.
it's a big selling point for the project too. So we want to make sure it's done. We just need to make sure that it's done in a way that, you know, the project can still be functional, still be viable. Yep.
Okay. And then one other question, there's this big lot over here in the southwest or the southeast portion here. That's just by itself. Yeah, you're getting there. That's it. Yeah. What's happening there?
Yeah, Commissioner Wheeler, that's an existing home.
Okay. I think I'm all done.
I do have a couple of questions. I noticed that you've got 3 private driveways, one on the top north, I guess, west corner, and then one at the bottom. It kind of appears just based on this picture that they have access to Linder. Will those be through streets?
Commissioner Larcher, no. So these are just common drives up here. This down here, this is the temporary emergency that we'd proposed, but it would go away as soon as the access on Linder is done.
And then the Carlson lateral, the city mentioned that it was your responsibility, but you're saying it's not. Where is it located? Is it?
Sorry, Commissioner Larcher, didn't mean to speak over you. So it is not on our property. It's east of our property.
Oh, it's east of the property. And then the roundabout for Linder and Amity and the widening of Linder and Victory between an Amity is not till 2036 to 2040. That's a long time. And a lot of things can change in the next 13 to 17 years. You said you have water, you said you have sewer. But what about the rest of it, I guess, you know, the fact that, you know, fire can't get there within their proposed 5 minutes of time. And I know you're going in phases, so it's not like it's next week or anything like that, but how are you going to, you know, manage the fact that ACHD is not going to be focused on this area for over 10 years?
Commissioner Larcher, there's a couple of, there's several questions there, so I'll try to pick them off one at a time. So with regard to ACHD has a capital improvements plan. We're all aware of that. That capital improvements plan and the 5-year work plan is a work in progress. They plan those for those improvements when they believe that they're going to be needed. If you look at the ACHD report, the Linder capacity right now is at about 1/3. Like Linder's capacity Linder is doing fine on capacity. As the city decides to develop in this area, my expectation is that some of those improvements would move up on the capital improvements plan. But as it stands right now, there is not a traffic capacity concern, and there's not a concern with those intersections that ACHD is deemed to be a problem for this project.
Okay.
With regard to the service times, you know, we scratched our heads a little bit at the fire response time. Here's the map. Google Maps shows a 4-minute drive for the typical vehicle from the existing fire station number, I think it's 6. And so from our view, you know, and fire's not here to ask, but from our view, this is well within the response time. And you also have the new station that's just off to the east that's just opened as well. So we don't see this as a concern in terms of ability to serve. And in fact, you can see it's pretty much a straight shot. And then when our access opens, when we have an access, this is the conservative approach, right? This is just showing our entry on Amity. But when we have our entry on Linder open, that'll shorten it up even more. So we don't see a fire response issue.
Commissioner Stoddard, did you have any questions for the applicant?
I do not.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, are there anybody signed up to give public testimony?
Madam Chair, there's not.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Madam Chair, I don't know if anyone in person wanted to
Oh, I'm
speak.
sorry. How about all you people? Does anybody in chambers would like to come up and speak on this application? Okay, think we're good. Let me have a motion to close the public hearing. There's somebody there? Good?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved, or second, sorry.
All right, it's been moved and second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any for nay? All right, public hearing is closed. Commissioners, this is a recommendation to city council. It's a big project. In a place where there's nothing right now.
Yeah.
I know I drive Victory on occasion, and right now there's starting to be stoplights, but mostly it's stop signs. And that could be, you know, adding 252 houses. Can't add that fast, but, you know, it's going to be in phases, so I know it's not all done in one time, but adding 252 houses to an area that doesn't really have anything going on, but it seems to be a crossways for people to move around town. And no infrastructure for roads for, you know, 10 years or so. I'm wondering if that's going to kick us in the butt later.
Say something? Madam Chair?
Commissioner Weaver?
So for me, I really like the project in the sense that it's keeping some of the natural flows. And I like the fact that even on that long stretch of the street, it is following the contour of the canal. It breaks it up well. It seems like a lot of these issues that we might be contemplating might be able to be worked out with staff as they're going to adjust some of the phasing plan or the phasing, some of the pedestrian walkways even. And, you know, we're just recommending this, not approving the plan itself. So it's kind of, and it's coming within the zoning that it has, and it's on the lower side of it, on the density. I mean, it is a lot of homes, like you're saying, for sure, and it does come in with the roadways. But I mean, that's a pretty well thought out plan. I would support this as a recommendation for annexation based on what they've presented. And knowing that they're going to be working with staff on some of the finer details of how this is put together and how it'll ultimately look within UDC.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner.
So is looking at the map we're looking at now, is Oakwood Estates on all of that Victory, is that already there? Is that already been, is that existing already homes?
Looking at this map, it looks like they're already there, yes.
But Brundage Estates is, it looks like here, it just received a second time extension for that. So is Brundage Estates, has that been approved already, or it's on a second extension?
Mr. Commissioner, yes. So the Brundage Estates went through a second time extension, but the project was already approved through commission and council. And they're allowed one-time extension, director, and a second time goes to city council.
with the flow that I'm seeing, just commissioners, I think it's Windrow, this project, which is kind of slide into that, that next to Brandage Estates. I mean, I like the flow. I like that there's already, existing homes there, and it's just kind of the continuation of from Victory Road to Amity Road. It'll be in phases. It'll have the access to Linder Road. Yeah, it's a big project, but in phases, it kind of flows with what's going on here. Yeah, I think I would support the recommendation to City Council.
Commissioner Stoddard, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say too, I agree. I think with the staff's recommendations for modifications, I agree with those, and I think it is a well thought out project. So I'm in agreement with the modifications.
I'd be open for a motion.
That's it. So after considering all staff applicant and public testimony, I move to recommend approval to the City Council of file number H 2023-0031 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of September 5th, 2023, with no modifications.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve file number H 2023-0031. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Say September 7th. Did you say September 7th?
I think it reads September 5th, so should it be, sorry.
I read September
about that.
5th.
Should it be September 7th?
So to adjust, the motion will be reading as September 7th, not September 5th. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Madam
So
Chair,
moved.
Yes.
I move we adjourn.
A second.
All right, it's been moved and second that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, meeting adjourned.